Taking on the teacher pension system, a state rep with a plan to make sure the money is there when teachers need to retire. We are joined this morning by State Representative Randy McDaniel from Edmond and also chairman of, including other things, the pension committee.
Yes, sir.
And so I want to start with the part that I think most people notice right off the bat with one of these proposals. We're going to talk about two different plans today. One of them, though, is the proposed changes to retirement age for teacher, and we can pull those up on the screen here. So for career educators right now, the retirement age is 60, and the proposal would be to bump that up to 62. And then the other slide we have here is just the overall, what we would call the normal retirement age would go from 65 to 67. So people look at this and they say, all right, adding 2 more years before people are able to retire. What's the thinking here, Representative?
Raising the retirement age has been done around the world. Most states have looked at it, most countries. It's a proven method to improve the financial security of the retirement system. Our proposal does it on a prospective basis, so it won't affect anybody in the system right now.
Okay, so to be clear, if you're currently in this teacher pension system, your retirement age is not changing.
Correct.
It would be only for new teachers.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that's a fair way to do it. People have dreams and plans, and we don't want to disrupt people's plans. But when you look at the future and costs continue to rise, this is a reasonable way to contain those costs so we can have a strong system.
And now what is the concern here? What's kind of the status quo for the pension system? Is it solvent right now? Is it okay?
Well, we have made great improvements since 2010, and it has improved. But last year, the unfunded liability increased $700 million. So clearly, not everything's perfect. We still have to be very vigilant and be willing to make the changes necessary to have a strong system.
Okay. How do you deal with the fact that we're talking about, raising the retirement age at the same time, also still trying to find a way to get teachers more money in terms of their pay, and then also like for instance, last year proposed healthcare benefit cuts. Essentially, is this turning more people away from the teaching profession because it seems like there are fewer and fewer benefits to being a teacher as opposed to what there once was?
Well, that's a very legitimate concern. I think people choose their occupation mainly on pay. And so if pay is the top priority, we need to have a compensation package that can achieve that. I'm a proponent of paying teachers better. They need it. And one way we can do that is if pension cost and healthcare cost aren't consuming so much of the education dollar.
Okay, I do want to point out real quick what the Oklahoma Education Association president said. She said rather, is not the time to extend the retirement age. Now is the time rather to invest in public education, not divest our public education employees from their retirement security. That was what she told News OK recently.
But there's never the right time. And that's why we had a crisis on our hand after the Great Recession. And so we have two choices. We can either do it, wait for each crisis to happen, and then try to catch up at that time, or we can have strategic long-term plans that take advantage of doing things very responsible over time. And so I understand that there will always be a need. We have a major need at this time for the best and brightest teachers, and I want to help achieve that. So my goal is, let's pay teachers better, but let's also have sustainable other parts of compensation.
So now if you were to increase the retirement age by 2 years, does that fix the fiscal situation for the pensions?
Well, that would be a great step in the right direction. That would definitely offset the rising pay increase. I can't say that it's going to solve all the problems forever, but it would make a big difference.
Okay, and there's one other piece to this. There's another bill that you're also proposing, and this is a separate bill that would allow the teachers to, instead of investing in the pension system, to go into a separate system, I'm assuming more like a 401k?
Yes, we need to modernize the system. It's optional, so that's one reason why we're talking about the retirement age too, because they would have their choice between a more modern plan where, like the private sector, I think that would help in the recruitment of teachers if they know that they might have a short time horizon that they're going to be in the state or in that school system. And so the defined contribution plan would be optional. It has a very attractive match, and I think it would be very competitive with any other 401k out there.
Well, now a skeptic would look at it and say, all right, looking at people trying to convert those folks from pensions to 401k, eventually trying to get rid of the pension system altogether.
Well, that's a different conversation for a different time. This plan is optional, and I think it adds to to the employment mix that we have right now, and I think it'll make it more competitive.
Long term, is that what you think needs to happen, though? Does the pension system need to go away in favor of a 401k?
Well, we need to have containable, predictable costs, but I think right now having an option adds to the compensation package, and that's what I'm proposing.
All right, so a lot to look forward to this upcoming session. Really appreciate your time. State Representative Randy McDaniel from Edmond, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank